My name is Bilha Wangui. All my life, I have been familiar with the church environment. I was born a Catholic. I was baptized in Catholic, and I served in Catholic as an altar girl. I was also confirmed. And throughout my being in church, I was also living a life of sin, a life of impurity, a life of unholiness. From the Catholic Church, I joined ACK for a brief period of time, and I still continued in my life of sin because at a very early age, I was introduced to a life of sin through an environment that was to be a protective environment for me. So I grew up living a life of sin and in church at the same time. I did not know that I was a hell candidate. I did not know that the life that I was living was preparing me for hell. And all through my journey in the doors of church, nobody ever told me that the life that I was living was going to lead me to hell. From the ACK church, I joined a Pentecostal church which was led by a prophetess. In that church, we were given oil to pray with. We were given water. The woman actually went to one of the sorcerers that died recently in Nigeria and collected water. And she brought the water to us and some stickers. So we would use the water and we had the stickers on our doors. But despite the fact that I used all these things, I was still living a life of abominations. I was a lesbian from birth, introduced by a family member. And I went through that kind of a life in the doors of church. And nobody ever pointed out my sin to me. So even with these gadgets that we were given, the teachings that we were taught, the raising of altars, redeeming ourselves as firstborns, none of that ever changed my life. None of that ever took away my abomination. So I came to realize that the church as we know it today, it does not prepare people for eternity. The church as we know it today is actually preparing people for hell because it is not teaching people about holiness, about purity, and about the qualification for making heaven. When I joined the Pentecostal church under that woman, I used to listen to preachers from all over the world. I listened to the likes of T.D. Jakes. I read his books. I listened to Joel Osteen. I read his books. I listened to his wife, Victoria Austin. I read some of her books, but none of those books emphasized about sin and about hell. I listened to leading preachers in Nigeria who we know today as listened to their teachings, but there was none that ever pointed out to the sin that I was living in, the abomination that was leading me to hell. Crisis broke out and I left the Church of the Prophetess. And after a while, I joined the Cry of the Spirit Ministries under the leadership of Apostle Richard E.S. Takim. And I can assure you that this is one of the few ministries that I know that teaches people and warns people about the terror of the Lord. Because the love of God is two-sided. It is like a coin. There is the goodness part of God's love. That is the part that saves. And there is the severity part of God's love. And that is the part that judges. For the first time in my life, I heard a preacher say that there's no gay, there's no lesbian that will make heaven. And because of that statement, I repented of my sin, of my abomination, and the Lord took the unclean from me. Knowing the terror of the Lord, Apostle Takim has been warning us about sin, about hell, and persuading us to live a life of holiness and a life of purity. The Bible says in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 10 and 11, we make it our aim to be well-pleasing to the Lord, for we will all appear before the judgment seat of Christ to receive what we did in the body, whether good or bad. Because of what I have learned under the apostleship of the Cry of the Spirit Ministries Global, I will be beginning a series on my YouTube channel titled The Forgotten Message. Watch out for that series. God bless you.